Hello everybody and welcome to r/neckbeardstories. Now if you want to see more of these type of videos in the future, you gotta slam the like button down below to show your support for the channel, cause in turn that'll make me more confident in what I'm doing. Okay, let's go. Our first story comes to us from username PopTarnicPop. I dated a legbeard, female neckbeard story. See, they do exist. You know, for those that were wondering. Hey, I'm sure you have read stories like this, but I thought I'd say my tale of the time I dated a legbeard in high school. For this story, I'll be calling legbeard LB and I'll be calling myself T. This story takes place literally my freshman year of high school, specifically my second semester. At the time, I hadn't exactly been looking to get into the dating scene just yet. Of course, it was my first year and I doubted any relationship would last long since I was basically a child. Now, I should probably give you a bit of context about me. I'm not exactly a looker, not by any means. I stood at around 5'11" and was overweight, still am today. Had long hair that went down to my shoulders due to a metal phase I was going through. Typically wore t-shirts with puns on them and black sweatpants and had a lip piercing. I know, I was an edgy kid. My first encounter with LB was with a mutual friend her and I had. We all met at the table during lunch on the first day back and she introduced me to LB. Now, some context for LB. She was a sophomore at our high school, though was already 17 due to being held back a full year. She stood 5'2", but what she lacked in height she made up for in width, weighing nearly 400 pounds. At the time, she had shorter hair than me surprisingly, and had acne that made her look like she had just shoved her face into a pizza. She always wore a jacket that looked like it had oil spread across the sleeves of it, and not car oil. I'm talking oil used for deep frying. Her odor, though, was the most disgusting part about her. It smelled like roadkill mixed with freshly diced onions. Anyway, her and I talked, mostly due to me kinda feeling bad for her since if neither of my friends or I sat there, she'd always sit alone. I found out that she actually is a fan of a few things I am, such as some weeb stuff anime and some bands. One thing that I couldn't help but feel awkward about though, is that whenever we talked, she'd always talk as if she was a scene kid from 2007 MySpace with the whole raw XD bullshit. After about a month of knowing this girl, she somehow finds me on Facebook, which doesn't even have my actual name on it. I went by a nickname since so many kids in my class had the same name. This meant she most likely just asked a friend for it. I didn't exactly think much of it at the time, so I accepted her friend request. Biggest mistake I ever made. She began messaging me not long after that, and the talking that usually was reserved for a few times we met at lunch table were now almost a daily occurrence. Luckily though, we usually talked in a group chat with a friend I mentioned earlier, so conversations didn't exactly get dull. There was one conversation though that went similar to this. Hey T, LB has something to ask you. Oh, well, why doesn't she just ask me? She doesn't have her phone. Okay, what does she want? She wanted to know if you would like to go on a date. It took me a minute to acknowledge that what she was asking me was actually real. I mean, of course I was being nice to LB, but I didn't think that our friend was thinking we were hitting it off. At the most, I thought we were just normal acquaintances. Anyway, so me being nice and dumb decided to say, why the frick not? Sure, I guess. Great, I'll let her know. Let's fast forward to what exactly LB wanted to do for the date. It was 6 o'clock about a week later from the previous conversation, and me not having a license due to my age, waited for about 30 minutes for LB to pick me up. She arrived in a 2001 Toyota Camry that was rusted beyond heck and looked like it dipped in the side LB was sitting on. I opened the passenger door and am met by piles of fast food cups and bags covering the front and back passenger seats. Just scooted over, LB says. I oblige hesitantly and push the garbage, calling it simply what it is, to the back. Once I'm buckled up with a soda-stained seatbelt, she starts driving. Where are we going, I ask. We hadn't talked about just what it was we were doing for this date, and I had simply thought we'd discuss it for a brief moment and drive there. I had about $50 on me, so most restaurants were on the table. The library has an anime night with all the free ramen you can eat. I thought we'd go there, she responded. How romantic. Instead of questioning her, I just shrugged it off and said it was cool with me. Hey, free Castro shot, plus I was a freaking weeb. Might as well weeb out. We got to the library about 20 minutes later and we walked inside. She keeps trying to grab my hand and I keep shrugging her off. Eventually we get to the room and oh my god, it's just a sea of neckbeards. The whole room smelled like Cheeto dust and gym socks. My only solstice while we were there was the fact that we sat in the back where it was less up in your face. I sat there beside her and talked with her for a bit. Again, we chatted about the common interests we had for the time, but I couldn't see that spark that tends to happen at the start of relationships. Everything is going smoothly until she hits me with a bombshell. So what are your thoughts on Tentacle Off-Brand? I nearly spat out my drink when she asked me such a question in an incredibly crowded place. Who asks these questions? And shouldn't there be some unspoken rule about conversation where freaking off-brand shouldn't be brought up? I don't know. I don't exactly watch off-brand. I said, setting down my glass. Well, I think it's incredible. I would love to just have Tentacle Beast shove its tentacles inside all my holes until I'm gagging. This Barch had no shame. After that remark, I couldn't be asked to talk to this woman seriously. LB was just too freaking weepy for even my taste. The night quickly came to a close after that thought, and she drove me home. We said our goodbyes, and I went inside my house and climbed into bed. Immediately, I was bombarded with texts from, you guessed it, LB. The messages ranged from, I had a good time tonight, and will you be my senpai, followed by those famous hello emoji people have been sending recently. I didn't respond to any of the messages until I got something that will haunt my dreams. About an hour after the first storm of messages came up, I was sent an image. Originally, my phone didn't show any actual image with it, so I opened it and God, I truly regret it. LB had decided to send me a picture of her unwashed and lice-infested vag. I'm not joking, it looked like a roast beef sandwich from an Arby's dumpster turned sideways. Oh, and I was being serious about the freaking lice. I could literally see fine bugs glistening in their pubes for the light of the camera. Needless to say, I vomited and immediately stopped talking to her. I avoided her for about a year before she stopped messaging me, actually having to threaten to get the police involved once she turned 18. I removed her off of all social medias and had to explain to my friends why I blocked LB. Once I told her everything, she decided to put their friendship on hiatus. Thanks for reading. Sorry it was long, just thought I'd share some shot with y'all. Can we all just come to a generic agreement to not send unwanted photos to people that we would not send to our parents? Our next story comes to us from username Miss Hyde is back. Frank, the nutritionist neckbeard. Hi guys, I got a little tale of swift justice for you today. It might be more bad people's story than neckbeard's story, but our antagonist was pretty beardy. So, I work out with a personal trainer twice a week. The gym he works out of is one of those specialty gyms where people who train for major competitions like Ironman and or bodybuilding / powerlifting spend hours at a time doing things that appear physically impossible to weak little me. It's a great place and everyone is positive and motivated, and there's no pickup culture. Unfortunately, they recently hired a temporary nutritionist, a large, smelly, hairy, leering creeper named Frank. Frank is a strange mishmash of neckbeard and health nut. He loves these sorts of shirts, the ones with the wolves in the moonlight, but he always cuts the sleeves off to make some kind of muscle shirt, presumably because he thinks his pasty flabby arms qualify as muscular. He guzzles muscle milk and is always eating Lenny and Larry's complete cookies. There are 2 in a package and one is a meal replacement for someone like me. According to the other trainers, Frank eats 3 or 4 packages during the 8-hour workday. He is unshaven, unkempt, and smelly, sour milk and duck butter smelly. The first time I was so unfortunate as to interact with Frank, he was walking around the gym getting in the way. Remember, he's a nutritionist. He has absolutely no place on the gym floor. I noticed him when he got close enough to me for me to smell him. I was doing squat presses and he approached from behind me and leered hard at my butt. I stopped my exercise and stared at him in the mirror until we made eye contact and scuttled away. I mentioned it to my trainer Danny, who grimaced and apologized. He's brand new here and so far he's not making a great impression. The second time I saw Frank, the owner of the gym, Henry, who is really a lovely man, introduced me to him and recommended his services as a nutritionist. This here is Frank. He's our dietitian while Melissa, our usually on-site nutritionist, is on maternity leave. Have you had a consultation with him yet? I replied that I had not and that I was happy with the diet plan Melissa had drawn up for me. Frank interrupted. I'm sure it could use some updating. Men generally understand the ins and outs of how bodies work on a much more in-depth level, considering we're the stronger sex. Henry looked startled. Frank, that's not at all correct. We've got people here who have made some hugely impressive strides towards their fitness goals, men and women. Melissa is a very educated woman and a fantastic dietitian. We're lucky to have her. Frank looked unconvinced and busied himself scribbling his contact info on a business card, which he handed to me. Hit me up, he winked. I stared. If you need to update your diet plan. I looked at Frank, I looked at Henry, who looked vaguely troubled. I threw the card into the trash can and walked back into the gym. After my next session, I was in the women's locker room when one of the female trainers, Ashley, stormed in and started ranting. That guy is such a piece of shit. Hi, Ashley. I'm good, thanks. How are you? Seriously? Hide? Okay, so not good. Do you know that guy Frank? The nutritionist? Yes, he's a creep. I was doing paperwork in the office and this jackwad just spent 10 minutes freaking negging me, whining that none of the girls here would give him the time of day, and barging that nobody liked his diet plans and kept asking when Melissa would be back. I was ignoring him, so I thought he'd finally gotten the message when he stopped talking, but then he started playing some kind of weird anime off-brand on his phone. When I turned around to yell at him, he just said, "Oops, forgot to turn down the volume," and freaking smiled at me. That's disgusting. Did you tell Henry? Henry's on vacation for 2 weeks. I wrote the entire incident out and emailed it to him, but holy frick, I'm so grossed out right now. Ashley stormed off to the shower. I finished packing up my bag, grabbed my cell phone, and walked out of the locker room. Absorbed in my emails, I didn't see and therefore collided with Frank. He responded by falling into me and putting both of his arms around me to catch himself. Whoa, that was almost bad. I felt the same way I do when I know there's a freaking spider on me, except worse. I shoved him away forcefully and he stumbled backwards. What the frick do you think you're doing, putting your hands on me? I shouted. The gym went silent. Everyone was staring. Frank turned white and then red. Ease up. It was just an accident. Jeez, relax. Overreact much? Danny materialized next to me. I think it's best if you stay out of the gym and away from the locker room doors from this point on, Frank. I work here too. I can go where I please. You're the nutritionist. Danny used air quotes. My fury was interrupted briefly by the desire to giggle. There is no need for you to be on the gym floor. Go back to your office. When someone wants you, they'll come to you. Danny is not a tall man, but he is very confident and commands a lot of respect. Frank looked uncertain before glaring at him, spitting out something unintelligible about lunkheads and stomping away. I told Danny I was really uncomfortable around Frank. He apologized and said he would speak to Henry when he returned. Frank was quiet for a while. Everyone eagerly awaited Henry's return. The woman in the gym studiously avoided interacting with him, and the atmosphere was uncomfortable. Last Friday, I realized I had a message in my other inbox on Facebook. It was from Frank. The idiot didn't even bother making a fake account. Hey, you there? Just saw you this morning. What's up? Do you know how incredibly inappropriate it is to look up / contact clients from your job on social media unsolicited? Well, Facebook is for everybody, sweetie. My Facebook isn't, which is why it's private. Don't contact me again. Oh, come on. Why, you're such an upright Bart. We could be friends. Absolutely not. I would rather associate with a genital wart. God, all the women at this gym are so freaking princesses. Leave me alone. Come on, girl. I'm a really nice guy. You just have to give me a chance and I'll show you. Oh boy. Oh look, a picture of your pecker. I'm shocked you could find it. Has Henry seen this? Contact me again, and this whole conversation goes to everyone on your friends list, including your mother. I blocked him, screenshotted the entire conversation, wrote up a detailed list of times Frank had made me incredibly uncomfortable, including the one Henry was witness to, attached the screenshots, and sent it to the gym, CCing Danny. Danny called me. I am so incredibly sorry, Hyde. That is not the norm here, I promise. I have no problem with you or anyone else at the gym, Danny. Don't fret. I just wanted Henry to be aware that he's talking to clients like this. Okay, I understand. I absolutely support you calling him out like this. I can't apologize enough. Henry came back Monday. My session with Danny was Tuesday. He looked like the cat that got the canary. While he tortured the life out of me, he told me the news. Frank had been off since Monday to return Wednesday. Therefore, we had no clue that Henry had came back to an inbox full of complaints about Frank. Complaints ranging from general discomfort to harassment. Screenshots of conversation like mine, some of which indicating he had pilfered phone numbers and emails from company records to contact people. Ashley's report of his inappropriate behavior, even a few demands for gym dues to be refunded because people absolutely would not be returning. People are not effing having it, and all these emails were after almost every one of his trainers had come to him with some kind of concern regarding our bearded boy Frank. Now, Henry is a darling man. He's an old cowboy the size of a fridge and missing 3 fingers on his left hand. He's got the biggest smile for everyone and a handlebar mustache to rival Sam Elliott's. He's an absolute teddy bear until you piss him off. Danny reported that Henry had lost his shot. There were fountains of expletives and there was a hurricane of profanity. 1 or 2 decor items in the office were broken. The outburst was epic. but nobody thought to record it on the sly, so I have no idea how epic it truly was. When Henry calmed down, booted everyone out of the office, and supposedly set to work smoothing things over with the clients who were intent on leaving. I left after attempting to switch my Thursday session to Wednesday so I could potentially watch the fireworks, no dice. This morning, I got to the gym and was relieved to see it still standing. I found Danny. He gave me the snippets of the story between sets pushing the sled. I hate that freaking sled. Frank had strolled in for his shift, clueless as anything. Ashley and 2 other trainers were speaking with Henry, who was manning the front desk. Henry smiled widely at Frank and invited him into the gym for a team meeting. Frank suspected nothing and came willingly. Henry gathered everyone to the center of the gym and proceeded to loudly and publicly list every single one of Frank's offenses. Most of them started with "this motherfricker" and ended with giving me and my business a bad freaking reputation. Danny said that Frank was white as a sheet, and then he turned red and redder and redder. Some people were actually becoming concerned that he'd have a stroke. By the end of Henry's speech, Frank was nearly purple. He turned to Frank, who he had not looked at once for this entire delivery, and said, "Now get the frick out of my gym. You are fired. I will tell every darn gym owner I contact I know that you're a disgusting piece of shot." Frank fled. Needless to say, the gym is back to its positive, motivational, and comfortable self again. TLDR, sometimes swift justice can be had, and it's darn wonderful. And with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you would like to be absolutely amazing and supportive, be sure to slam the like button, comment down below what you liked about the video, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.